Hello, good evening. Once again, it's my pleasure to welcome you to BOI's Impact. I am Hadiza Olaosebikan. Tonight's program will feature the Bank of Industry's 55th Annual General Meeting that took place recently at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja. This AGM was indeed a milestone in the history of the bank. The bank, for the first time, was able to publish its annual reports and accounts within the statutory period of 120 days after its financial year. The year, like that of all banks, ended 31st December 2014. BOI's account was approved by the Central Bank of Nigeria, one of the bank's major shareholders, before the 30th of April, which was within 120 days. The AGM, which held on the 7th of May, was also the earliest time BOI ever held its AGM. Here are high points of the AGM. Happy viewing. The 55th Annual General Meeting of the Bank of Industry kick-started with reading out of the day's agenda by the company secretary, Mr. Emmanuel Onoji.
Notice of Annual General Meeting. Notice is hereby given to transact the following business: to declare a dividend, to appoint auditors of the company until the conclusion of the next general meeting of the company, at which the accounts are laid before the members, and to authorize the directors to fix their remuneration. Special business: to fix the remuneration of directors and approve exit package for non-executive directors. To pass a resolution for the amendment of the memorandum and articles of association to include support for adaptation projects, dated the 7th day of April 2015, by order of the board.
Mr. Michael Daudu of Deloitte, the independent auditors to the bank, read out the report of the financial statements to those present.
We have audited the accompanying consolidated and separate financial statements of Bank of Industry Limited and its subsidiaries, which comprise the consolidated and separate statements of financial position as at 31st December 2014, the consolidated and separate statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, statement of changes in equity, consolidated and separate statement of cash flows for the year then ended 31st December 2014, a summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. The directors are responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these consolidated and separate financial statements in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20 LFN 2004, the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act, Cap B3 LFN 2004, the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act 2011, and for such internal control as the directors determine is necessary to enable the preparation of the consolidated and separate financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. We conducted our audit in accordance with international standards on auditing. Those standards require that we comply with ethical requirements and plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. An audit involves performing procedures to obtain audit evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. The procedures selected depend on the auditor's judgment, including the assessment of the risk of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error. In making those risk assessments, the auditors consider internal controls relevant to the entity's preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the entity's internal control. An audit also includes evaluating the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates made by directors, as well as evaluating the overall presentation of the financial statements. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our audit opinion.
Alhaji Abdul Samad Rabi, BOI's board chairman, moved for the adoption of the 2014 accounts in line with global best practice.
So in view of the fact that the statements of accounts and the director's report have been sent to all members, I propose that the reports be and are hereby taken as read. If we can have consent of members. And if that is okay, I would like to move that the director's report and the statements of account for the year ended 31st December 2014, now submitted to the meeting, be and are hereby received and adopted.
Billy Kwan, representing Murphy, supports the motion.
Thank you. I declare the motion unanimously carried.
He went further to declare dividends for the bank's shareholders.
I hereby propose the motion that a dividend of 612,331,100,000 recommended by the director, subject to the deduction of appropriate withholding tax, be approved, that the directors be and are hereby authorized to pay some from the profit during the year ended 31st December 2014 to the shareholders. I would like somebody to please move this motion.
Charity Olonta, representing CBN, move this motion.
Thank you very much. So the motion is carried. Thank you.
Auditors were also reappointed.
The retiring auditors, Akintola Williams Deloitte, Chartered Accountants, have expressed their willingness to be reappointed. CBN?
Will second the motion.
Thank you very much. So I declare that unanimously carried.
The annual general meeting ended on a high note where some clauses were amended and management of the bank were highly commended for their efforts at repositioning the bank.
I therefore propose that the resolution that clause 31A of the MEMAT of your company be amended by the addition of the following: supporting, financing, and funding climate resilient adaptation projects. So if we can have somebody to please. Thank you.
Charity Olonta, representing CBN.
Thank you very much, Mr. Conde. Okay, very well. So I declare that the resolution is carried. Well, let me use this opportunity to, really thank everybody, shareholders, management, for this meeting, or should I say meetings, especially the management. They've done very well the last couple of years. As you can see, profit of over 6 billion naira last year, and the year before 3.6 billion. So really, I think we should commend them. It is really, a good case.
Nigeria records post-harvest losses and wastages annually in the agricultural sector due to limited processing and preservation capacity. This results in high food prices and food importation, with its attendant effects on the nation's foreign reserves. To enable Nigerians optimize the benefits from the country's vast agricultural products such as cassava, oil palm, rice, tomatoes, and others, the Bank of Industry has launched a 5 billion naira cottage agro-processing fund, the CAP Fund. Customers can access the fund to establish plants to process our various agro-produce into food products or intermediate raw materials for industries at a single-digit interest rate of 9% per annum. For more information on the CAP Fund, please visit www.boinigeria.com/capfund. Bank of Industry, developing Nigeria's agro-processing industry through the CAP Fund.
Welcome back. Though the 2014 financial year may have ended, but the bank's highly impressive performance, where it recorded a 9% growth despite the challenging operating environment, cannot be overemphasized. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Bank of Industry, Mr. Rashid Olaoluwa, gives an insight into how the bank made this happen and how it will sustain the momentum. Enjoy it. At a one-on-one interview with the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Rashid Olaoluwa, he gave an insight into how BOI was able to achieve such impressive feat despite the fact that he only assumed office last year. Sir, as a DFI, BOI has two bottom lines: financial viability and developmental impact. Going by the bank's recently published 2014 financial statements, where 232% and 9.3% increases were recorded respectively in profit as well as loan advances, how were you able to put through this highly impressive performances only about 7 months at the helms of affairs since you took over the MD in May 2014?
Thank you so much. It is often said that success is never by accident. It's been a lot of planning, a lot of hard work, a lot of thinking. When I came on board in May 2014, of course, naturally, the starting point is to even understand the status quo, current position assessment. Where is the bank? What are the strengths and weaknesses? But beyond that, we also needed to measure ourselves, against similar institutions, both in Nigeria in terms of other development finance institutions, as well as even across the continent of Africa. So I reviewed a number of documents published by the Association of African DFIs, which unfortunately, showed that BOI was not even rated in the top 10 in Africa. And that was a little disappointing, but it was also a challenge that we can make a difference. So it was clear that we needed to do things differently to give us that reckoning as a leading development bank in Africa. But beyond that, we also realized that there are a number of quick wins, that we could actually just deal with instantly. Let me just mention a few of those quick wins. So when I came on board, we had a number of deposit placements with banks, commercial banks in Nigeria, and given my background as a treasury person in the past, it was easy to realize that BOI could easily earn a lot more on those treasury investments. And so we took immediate steps to ensure that the bank is able to earn significantly higher revenues on our money market investments. The other one was in terms of monitoring our loans and advances. We set up a loan monitoring department, to ensure that when loans are granted, you have, professionals who are experienced in the art of monitoring the loans. We also mobilized our staff to ensure that they have this mindset that when loans are granted, it's not the end of the job. You must stay with the customer through the utilization, through the project implementation to ensure that the loan can be recovered. We engaged a very reputable international consulting firm, that assisted us, to go through a strategic 5-year planning exercise. So today, BOI has a 5-year strategy plan, that contains our new vision, mission, strategy goals and objectives, and even core values. We developed a new set of core values, which goes with the acronym SPIRIT, SPPIRIT, which stands for service, professionalism, passion, integrity, resourcefulness, innovation, and team spirit. In terms of business, we restructured our large enterprise directorate to align with Nigeria's industrial plan, which is basically along 3 key sectors. The agro processing, to process Nigeria's agricultural products into either food products or intermediate raw materials for industry. We have the solid minerals group, which again deals with solid minerals, things like limestone to cement, iron ore to liquid steel, and also to iron rods and all that. So we have that as a group in the Bank of Industry. We also have gas and petrochemical group, which is basically about adding value to Nigeria's oil and gas resources. In in the SME area, what we discovered was that because there wasn't a dedicated directorate to the SME business, the proportion of our loan portfolio that was out to SME sector was quite small. So we decided to designate an executive director as, being dedicated to just the SME business. And that has really been very, very, very effective. And then lastly, I cannot conclude without talking about risk management. We developed a robust enterprise risk management framework, which we are implementing, which has set limits for us in terms of a number of areas, in terms of interbank placement, in terms of what guarantees we can accept from banks, in terms of our even operational risk management. So a lot of things are going on. I'm pleased to announce that one of the important achievements that we recorded in the last 1 year is the fact that our NPL ratio, we used to be relatively high, has now reduced significantly to less than 5%. And all these factors that I just mentioned, we can say added up to the results that we just published, where profit before tax increased 203% from 1.7 billion in 2013 to 5.7 billion last year. And also our loan, we also achieved a growth of about 10% in our loan portfolio from 498 billion to 544 billion.
Well, when you were mentioning the vision and the mission of the bank, you said it effortlessly, and also the core values. And I can see that in your office, you have the vision, you have the mission, you have the policy statement. Is there a reason why you have this? Do you look at it every day? Is it one of the factors that drives you every morning?
It's very important. I mean, the vision represents our long-term strategic aspiration. The mission represents the purpose of BOI. Why was BOI established? It was established to support the industrial sector. And it's important that every staff, when we come to work every morning, we can relate, to that mission. And as men and women on a mission, we like to be reminded every time why we're here. So that when you come to work in the morning and you go home in the evening, you must ask yourself, what have you contributed, to that objective?
All right. Well, since we're almost halfway into 2015, and do you think this your impressive performance within these few months can be sustained? Especially against this widely held views that 2015 is going to be a little bit challenging. Yes,
it's sustainable, at least based on the results we have seen year to date, from January to April. We've actually done better than last year. So that is really not a source of concern. But I must say that what is important is how much impact we're able to make on our customers, on the Nigerian economy, on the Nigeria's industrial sector. And we have done a lot of things in terms of how we serve our SMEs. Let me just mention a few of them. So first, we realized that most SMEs in Nigeria have a challenge with writing bankable business plans. Okay, so what we have done is we've appointed a total of 122 business development service providers all over the country. They are arranged on a state basis, on a regional basis, and we also have a few who have a national mandate. Now, what have we done? We've negotiated very affordable token fees with these BDSPs to help our SMEs prepare their business plans. Now, the fees, if you want to know, are as follows. If an SME is applying for a loan that is less than 10 million naira, the agreed fee with the BDSP is 10,000 naira. So you want to borrow less than 10 million naira, the BDSP will charge you no more than 10,000 naira. It doesn't get more affordable than that. If you want to borrow between 10 million and 50 million, they'll charge you 25,000. Between 50 million and 200 million, they charge you 50,000 naira. We believe that any amount that's above 200 million, you're becoming almost a large enterprise. You should be able to negotiate with the BDSP. So we really have tried to help our SMEs, the small scale businesses, to be able to get quality advice, quality technical support in terms of writing business plans, and they will also be held. They will be supported, along the journey from getting the loan to actually performing on the project and being able to repay the loan.
BOI just got its rating for the very first time, yes. And it was A-. What's the significance of this rating? Okay. What does it mean to the bank? What does it mean to DFI? What does it mean to Nigeria?
One of the things we found out was that the leading development finance institutions in the world are rated institutions. They have credit ratings. I mean, I can mention the Brazilian Development Bank, BNDES, is rated by Moody's. The South African Development Bank, IDC, is rated by Moody's. So it's an anomaly that we have a development bank in Nigeria that wasn't rated. Now, but we realized that it was important to also take a step at a time. So we wanted to start with a domestic rating, and we engaged Agusto & Co. And we got a rating that exceeded our expectation, and we're happy that we got A-. And now we are progressing to the next natural stage, which is to now get an international credit rating. Now, what that means is that we have a basis for measuring up ourselves against other institutions all over the world. And secondly, we can now use that as a basis for diversifying our funding base. So our funding has always come 100% from the government. Now, unlike other leading development institutions that actually are able to raise, domestic and international bonds to fund their developmental activities. So we're hoping that at some point down the line, we will also be in a position to do that. And the customers, the industrial project promoters, the SMEs will also benefit from increased funding ability of a bank like BOI.
Wow. I say kudos to the management of BOI for recording such superlative performance. The group's profit grew from 2.18 billion in 2013 to 5.19 billion in 2014, representing a growth of 137%. It is indeed an achievement for the bank that must be sustained. Going by the interview granted by the MD and CEO, I'm sure the bank is ever ready to continue to support Nigeria's industrialization drive and to be amongst the top 20 by the year 2020. I'm optimistic, and I hope you are too. In the course of the series, we shall bring you more on the Bank of Industry's effort at delivering its mandate. It's on this note that we'll conclude this week's edition of BOI's Impact, whilst looking forward to the bank's next AGM. It's good evening and have an enterprising week. I am Hadiza Olaosebikan. Bye for now.